Welcome to A Meaningful Marketplace.
I'm Sarah Masoni from Oregon State University's Food Innovation Center, where I've helped countless dreamers launch their new food products. It's the science of taking a food delight from the kitchen to mass manufacturing and still keeping its great taste. That's what I do. I've been called the woman with the $1 million palate, although I haven't tried to cash that check yet. Listen in weekly for real-life stories.
I'm Sarah Marshall, owner of Marshall's Haute Sauce and author of Preservation Pantry, modern canning from root to top and stem to core. I love inspiring business owners to get started on their journey, encourage folks to be part of their local community, and I'm excited to help business owners tell their stories. Hello and welcome to the Meaningful Marketplace. We are here weekly to discuss the journeys of food entrepreneurs. We're glad you've joined us today to bring you stories of hope and inspiration. This is Sarah Marshall, owner of Marshall's Hot Sauce.
And Sarah Masoni of Oregon State University's Food Innovation Center. Hi, Sarah Marshall.
Hey, Sarah. Welcome back. You've been on a journey. Do you want to tell people about it at all?
Well, my husband and I went on a cruise up to Alaska through the Inner Passage and went to all the famous places. And it was extraordinary. Yeah. I would recommend it to anyone who feels like they need an adventure.
Your photos look cold, but fun.
I mean, it was cold. I had to have my parka on with the furry rim on my hood. But it was worth it.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you're back. It's good to have you here. Missed you. And it looked like you had a good time. What's your favorite thing you ate while you were on your trip?
Actually, eating really isn't the highlight. I think it's experiencing the scenery and stuff. Yeah. Well,
they look beautiful. You take great pictures, so people can check out your journey on your Instagram.
Glacier Bay is really magnificent.
Very cool.
Oregon State University's College of Agricultural Sciences and the Food Innovation Center are proud sponsors of Meaningful Marketplace. With a mission to serve all Oregonians, we are committed to giving voice to those whose food and agricultural stories are not always heard. By providing access and opportunity for a more diverse and just food system, because food brings people together.
Well, we have been partnering with Prosper Portland to highlight Portland makers and businesses. So today we're joined by Courtney of We Must Mustard, making delicious dipping mustard in Portland, Oregon. We're glad to have you on the show today, Courtney. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
We like to connect listeners to you right off the bat. So what's the best way for them to find you on social media and online?
Yeah, on Instagram, I'm at We Must Mustard. And then my website is wemustmustard.com.
Perfect. And then we like to start at the beginning of your journey. So tell us about when you started We Must and what inspired you to start your business.
Yeah, this is my first time telling this story from start to today. So I'm really excited to do this. It took a lot of timeline mapping out because that first year is like a true fire hose to the mouth where it's just like your to-do list that you're just ticking away at. So this will be fun for me. I started, I guess the idea even started in fall of 2024. I was working in the sportswear industry for 17 years and just had this moment of, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't know what I want to do, but I know that this isn't it. I knew that I wanted to work with product. I love creating. And I knew that I wanted to get back to my roots of food. So growing up, my parents owned restaurants. So my mom had a catering business in Seattle, and then we moved to Bainbridge Island where they had a restaurant there. We moved up to the San Juan Islands where they had a restaurant there. And then most recently they had one in Seaside, Oregon. And so growing up in the restaurant industry, you just genuinely understand a different hustle and grind than most do. But what I loved about what my parents created was this delicious atmosphere and restaurant around scratch cooking, using as local as possible, as often as possible. And so I just had this base that I wanted to get back to. I cook that way for my family, but how could I kind of incorporate this idea of a product and then also like this pureness of culinary options. And so in fall of 2024, I'd been talking to my husband of like, where do I want to go? What do I want to do? And so one night he was mixing some mustard with relish for our little mustard loving 8-year-old who quite literally puts mustard on everything. Snow cones, straight to the mouth, whatever. Like he just loves mustard. And so as he was mixing it for his little veggie hot dog, my husband was like, "What about a mustard company?" And immediately I was like, that's a horrible idea. Absolutely not. And the more I sat with it and the more I thought about it and the more I looked at the mustard aisle, I realized it was a sea of these yellow plastic squeeze bottles, and they all kind of tasted the same. There was nothing really special about it. Like it's a great ad, salad dressings on top of a hot dog or a burger, but there was no like special moment around this really yummy condiment. And so I just started playing around with some recipes. And November of 2024 is when I made my first batch of mustard, and it was gross.
Mustard is tricky. I think it's hard to nail it.
It is. It is. And there's like a lot of steps to making it delicious. So I was determined to create something delicious. And I knew I wanted it to be a mustard that had a layered flavor profile, that it wasn't going to be that immediate hit of vinegar when you try it. And so I went through so countless iterations until I had about 6 that I liked. And I had these 6 different mason jars that I took everywhere to get feedback. Anybody that would taste my mustard, I would put it in front of them. Family dinners around the neighborhood. At one point, I took it into the office and lined it up on a conference table and had people voting on their favorite. And when I got to one that the overwhelming majority liked, I was like, I think I want to do this. And so I called up one of my old colleagues who has a pickle company here in Portland called Duker's Dills. And they are such delicious pickles. And she had launched that while also in the sportswear industry. And so I asked her, like, what do I do? I think I want to start a mustard company. And she said, your first stop is the Getting Your Recipe to Market class through PCC. So called them and had an interview with them. And at the time, I had a very tight budget of 50 cents. And so it was unfortunately out of my price range. And so I said, this sounds great. It sounds like exactly what I need, but I don't have the budget for it. So I'll be back when I do. So then my next stop was the FIC, actually, Sarah, where I was working with Samantha Kilgore at the time to do some testing required for my PA letter, my process authority letter. And again, that 50-cent budget was rearing its ugly head, where Samantha was helping me figure out, how much it would cost to test and which tests and which flavors I was going to test. And her and I were trying to like nickel and dime the whole thing. And she was like, wait, stop. She goes, there is this organization called Prosper Portland who oftentimes will cover testing with the FIC. So she connected me with Yvonne Smoker at Prosper Portland, who quickly got on a call with me, I think a couple days later. And she just needed to know what I was doing, what I was creating, what my goals and path were. And they gave me a grant to cover the testing at FIC, which was huge. It was huge for me. It was a huge launching point. And I remember when I was talking with her, I was so excited. I felt like my whole brain went totally blank, and I was Googling, do I need to pay back a grant just to be completely sure that this isn't too good to be true? And not only did they cover that, but in the call, she also recommended the Getting Your Recipe to Market class. Same conversation. It's a perfect opportunity for me, just not yet, not until I have enough funds to cover it. And she again was like, "We got you. We'll give you a scholarship for the class. It starts in 2 weeks. Buckle up. We're gonna help you get into it." And thank gosh she did. And then they also set me up with a mentor program or an advising program through Hacienda's Empresarios program, where I had an advisor who I'd meet with and still do meet with once a month to help me kind of navigate all of this. So had that great base to kind of launch off of. And so I started up with the Getting Your Recipe to Market class where we learn so much each week, and each week is a new subject. At one point, we talked to the FIC, ODA comes through, we have a trademark lawyer come through. They teach you how to scale your recipe, which somebody who's never been in this world before, I didn't even know that it wasn't the same recipe from like my one mason jar of delicious mustard to 30 gallons of mustard. And so just things I would have never even known or thought of until I made this huge mistake. I was learning, and I was absolutely huge. And the capstone to that class was presenting to New Seasons Market. And part of that pitch to New Seasons Market isn't necessarily to get in, but for them to give you feedback while you're talking to buyers, what information you need to be providing. Lucky for me, I had been working with buyers for 17 years in the sportswear industry, so that felt very natural and comfortable to me. Maybe the only thing that was natural and comfortable for me. And so part of my pitch to New Seasons Market, of course, was like, one, I've created this very different and unique product in a very saturated marketplace or a very saturated category within mustard. Like I've created a mustard that is very flavorful. I've cooked my mustard down to a point where you get this very like smooth and silky viscosity that's a little bit thicker and great for dipping, but it's also a mustard that's going to sit really well on charcuterie boards. And we know the love for charcuterie boards and girl dinners and like the simplicity of putting out something delicious amongst, an array of rich meats and cheeses and salty carbs. What I also knew I wanted to sell New Seasons Market on was something that would look different on the shelf. And so I wanted these to be in glass jars, not only for the sustainability of it, but also because it elevates the product as well. And it also is a vessel for dipping into. And then also when it came to the label, I really wanted it to pop off the shelf. So my labels are bright. They're like a neon adjacent. And I wanted it to feel like a piece of artwork. So I worked with several different designers and artists until I finally found a tattoo artist in Lad's Edition to help me create the artwork for my label. He created these darling little emblems on the side, and then he also created these florals around my word mark that look and feel like a floral arm sleeve, which I loved the nod back to Portland's tattoo culture. And I loved kind of the edginess behind these very pretty, elegant flowers, and that they kind of look and feel like a tattoo. So again, I wanted this to feel like a piece of artwork, not just on the shelf, not just as a hostess gift, but also on a charcuterie board, or even when you open your fridge and you have that moment of like, "Ah, there's that cute label again." And that was something that was just really important to me. And I wanted to drive home to the New Seasons team of this isn't just delicious, unique mustard. It also looks beautiful. And so to me, it was a full package that I could present to them. I also knew through my mentors that this wasn't going to be an easy side hustle, and I would need to leave my job. So in May of 2025, I left my job and just, I like to say, I dove into mustard full time and really gave it a go. And that was part of my pitch to New Seasons was you have all of me. I'll be hustling through demos. I will be, we'll never be out of stock because I'm fully committed to consistently cooking our mustard and keeping it full. We did, and we were lucky enough for them to bring us in for fall of 25. And they brought us into the mustard aisle with our 6-ounce jars. And Lori Hunter had challenged us to create a mini 3-pack for their local finds end cap, which was awesome. And this little cutie 3-pack was meant to really only be there for the holidays, but it's honestly taken on such a life of its own that it still lives today, and it's one of our top sellers. And so that was really our big launch, was October of 2025, where we launched within New Seasons exclusively. And I knew I wanted to go slow, and I knew I wanted to really lean into New Seasons and get it right and talk to the consumers there, talk to the managers on the floors, and just information gather as much as I could. And so spring of 2026 is when we started to expand further within Portland. So we started launching into elephants and market of choice. We recently just got into the Meadow and Tender Loving Empire. On Friday, I had 2 different girlfriends at the Portland airport text me pictures of my mustard on shelf in 2 different concourses, which is so exciting. I thought I'd be a little bit more chill about it, but it's 5 days later and I'm still ecstatic that we are actually in the Portland airport. So we're just in sustainable expansion mode right now. We just wrapped up a Built Oregon Retail Accelerator. It was a 10-week program for people like me of you've started and now you're ready to accelerate. So it was a wonderful program where they had speakers come through and talk about finance and legal, help us with our pitch decks, as well as local resources. They also connected us with mentors. So we got a wonderful mentor, Nico Vergara, and he was this great resource of where we could go to ask the most ridiculous questions. Like, we've never shipped 30 pounds of glass jars filled with mustard. How does one even go about doing that? And so he helped us with those ridiculous questions. That's just one example. And then also helped us launch on Fair and Air Goods. And it's been fun to see that going and taking off, where we just the other week shipped up to Alaska, actually, Sarah. Fun to have our product up there, all the way to Puerto Rico and Boston and Illinois. And so now we're starting to see our mustard kind of expand across the US, which is absolutely wild. And then today we're now really focusing again still on demos. We love doing demos in store and farmers markets. We're also doing some new flavor creations, which are really fun. We're kind of balancing the idea of what are like fun, true mustard flavors that people would love, and where do we get to like kitschy. And so there's that fun balance as we start expanding. But as I kind of wrote out this timeline, as I thought through this whole process, one thing that really stuck out and I just wanted to speak to is that I wouldn't be here today without my wonderful community. Of course, my husband giving me that first supportive push of like, go, you got this, to Prosper Portland, who I truly, honestly wouldn't be here today or even talking to you if it wasn't for Portland and the base that they gave me and support they gave me. I honestly wouldn't be here without that. You know, the FIC being a wonderful resource in my backyard that is such a, a wonderful like security blanket for me. And then also the idea that a lot of founders share within Portland that I think is quite unique to Portland is community over competition. And I love that idea. I love that sentiment. And you truly feel it when you work within this founders community. And it's something that's infectious, and it's something that I genuinely believe in and hope that someday I can repay this community the way that they've invested in me.
Well, with that, we want to thank our sponsor for supporting Meaningful Marketplace. Thank you for helping us spread the word about small business owners and entrepreneurs. So let's hear a word from our sponsor, Prosper Portland, and we'll be right back.
Prosper Portland is the economic and urban development agency for the city of Portland. We focus on building an equitable economy by carrying out a comprehensive range of economic development programs that support small business, improve access to workforce training, and create jobs for Portland residents. Food and beverage manufacturing is a fast-growing industry that demonstrates strong, inclusive growth potential in Portland. It encompasses everything from entrepreneurs just starting out to established companies with international distribution. Prosper Portland works collaboratively with local companies and institutions to help grow priority industries like food and beverage manufacturing. This support takes the form of business retention, expansion, and recruitment visits, industry-specific programming, networking events, business-specific support, and access to capital. To learn how Prosper Portland can help your business, contact Yvonne Smoker, the Food and Beverage Manufacturing Industry Liaison, for more information, and visit prosperportland.us.
Okay, now that we've heard all about how you got started, can you talk to us a little bit about the different types of flavors you've landed on?
Currently in the market, we have a Dijon. We wanted it to not taste like your average Dijon, so it's almost like Dijon with a little bit of a twist. I take some of the brown mustard seeds and I toast them until they're really nutty and rich in flavor. I grind them down into a fine powder and then fold them in. So my Dijon tastes a little different. My dill, which actually, Sarah, at our FIC holiday market, you bought my dill mustard.
I did. Yep, it's in my fridge.
I was so honored that the $1 million palate bought my mustard.
That's funny.
But I have a dill mustard, and in my dill mustard, this was a wild one for me to create because I created this delicious base of mustard, and I thought if I just add fresh dill into this, it's gonna taste delicious. And it did. It did night of. And 4 days later, my husband tried it. He's like, it doesn't taste like dill anymore. And so I was like, what do you mean? And so I ended up meeting with a food scientist out of Colorado. Her name was Caitlin Clark. And she had volunteered her time to those in the Getting Your Recipe to Market class. And she was like, yeah, you have to meet the spice at its most mature state. And she said when she makes dill pickles, she really only uses dill seeds to get that dill flavor. So within my dill mustard, I do ground up dill seeds, I do a dry dill, and then I also do a fresh dill. I also take the stems of the fresh dill and I steep it in the mustard while I cook it. So I really wanted to lean in on every form of natural dill I could get my hands on. And then my yellow mustard. This one is probably the most neutral out of all three. With this one, I use an apple cider vinegar, which actually, Sarah, after talking to you, you gave me feedback that it had too much apple cider vinegar. We've pared it back. We've brought in more white vinegar to brighten it up more. And then it has just wonderful spices across celery seed, kosher salt, also some garlic powder and paprika. So it's very flavorful. And overall, I wanted all of them to be incredibly flavorful on their own, but I wanted them to taste distinctly different from each other. And I think they do.
I love that your son puts mustard on everything as well. My husband always talks about, well, his grandma would talk about when he was a kid, he would just want to eat mustard sandwiches and that was it. And he still will put mustard on everything. That's like, I think there's certain people that it's like, it's something they just crave and they need.
Yeah, it's been fun. The number of people that will come up to our booth at a farmer's market and be like, I love mustard.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny, it's not like one person. It's an array of people that just absolutely love mustard.
And you mentioned the farmer's market. So let's tell people what farmer's markets you're doing right now so they can come find you.
Yeah, we do a slew of farmers markets. And to be honest, we're not super consistent at a single farmers market. We're at different markets across the city. So we're doing St. John's this weekend. We did PSU last weekend, Beaverton the weekend before. Um, so I wish I could give some more specifics on where we'll be and when, but I'll do a better job of keeping our Instagram up to date.
Yeah, people will have a link in the show notes to your Instagram so people can find you and follow you, and then they'll know where you're going to be next.
Awesome.
We always like to ask people what they need from their community right now. So how can people in Portland support you?
I think as I talked about the importance around community and small businesses, I think overall supporting small businesses like ours across the board, giving us feedback. Feedback is such a wonderful gift, even when it's so hard to hear. Sarah, when I had you try my mustard back in December, I was so nervous, but I knew I needed it and it was so valuable. And so we just need feedback and also suggestions. I would love suggestions on the type of mustards you'd like to see us create, where you'd like to see us go. People are wonderful in suggesting stores that they want to see us in, and just, you know, the more feedback we get, the better.
And the other thing that people are always interested in, we have a lot of people that are currently dreaming up a business and haven't started, but where are you manufacturing your product? Do you do it in your home or do you have a commercial kitchen? What's your journey been with that?
Yeah, we're in a commercial kitchen. Part of the ODA regulations for an acidified food are that we do need to be in a kitchen. And I think probably I would be in a kitchen no matter what. But we work out of Rockwood Market Hall off of East Burnside. It's a wonderful commercial kitchen and there's a great community around it. I found other people that I get to cook in the kitchen with and learn from. So yeah, right now we're still making everything by hand ourselves, which is pretty fun.
And do you have any advice for people that are currently dreaming up a business?
Yeah, I think it's funny. You hear a lot people say, do the thing, just go do the thing. But I don't know if that's the best advice. I think there's so many filters to go through before you just do the thing. And part of that is finding that white space and finding what consumers aren't offered currently. Nobody needs more of the same. Nobody needs the same product remarketed. Like, how can you create something that's genuinely special and not available? I think also there's an assumption that you need to bring like your grandmother's favorite or her special or famous recipe to market. I didn't do that. I created something really special. I relentlessly worked to find something and create something that was different than what was available in the market. So, taking the time to create something special and giving the consumer an opportunity to try something really new.
What do you feel was the most difficult part about scaling your mustard?
I'm glad that you asked that. One, even just the math behind scaling a recipe. Lucky for me, I have this wonderful friend who's a trained chef, who through culinary school understood that type of math and was able to help me create a scaled recipe. But he also came and helped me in the commercial kitchen. And I'd, grown up in restaurants, but I'd never worked in a huge commercial kitchen before. So he, taught me how to use a tilt skillet. I'd never used or seen a tilt skillet before. Taught me simple things of like when you're in the kitchen, you move from left to right, and just the basics behind all of that. And to be honest, Sarah, I'm still working on scaling my recipes. And just the other day, each week or each time I go in, I scale my recipe by one more gallon and one more gallon. And I'm like pushing the boundaries of how much can I fit in this tilt skillet. And last week I found that boundary. And so I'm still tweaking and I'm still trying to find what those exact measurements are per size. And Actually, one time when we were talking to you, Sarah, I had asked what is the magic formula to just get me to that size and that recipe? And you said you just have to go slow and you just have to keep building into your recipe and tasting and refining, and it just takes time, which no one wants to hear. I didn't want to hear. And here I am, gosh, 9 months later, still doing just that.
Yeah, when I had mentioned earlier that it's tricky with mustard, I learned a little bit about it when I was writing my canning book because I had a mustard recipe and I make this mustard all the time, so much, and it turns out just fine every time I do it. But then when I was trying to scale it up for people to make the bigger batch at home, it wouldn't work and it didn't work. And I spent so much time on that one recipe because you can't just do that with mustard because it has like all the well, one, I think it's the strong flavors of it will make it taste bad if you just scale it up, but also the consistency of it will change because it does create such a thick product that when you just add a lot of it, like scaling up your recipe, it just doesn't work. You have to be really precious with it and you have to really try it until you get it just right.
It's true. It's true. And I oftentimes say I now know why there's not a lot of artisanal mustards out there. It's it's really hard to make, and potentially only fools would do this.
Well, we're glad you jumped in and decided to be that person that's making the mustard for our city. Everyone's enjoying it. I see it. I see you alongside me on the shelf all the time, and your product looks beautiful. It tastes good. It's, nice to be shelf mates together. So I'm glad that you're here along with all of us.
Thank you. I am too.
One more time, let's tell people how to find you.
Yeah, on Instagram, we're at We Must Mustard. And then our website is wemustmustard.com.
Perfect. Well, thanks for joining us on the show today. It was great to hear about you, your product, and your story, and your interactions with Prosper Portland. So thanks for sharing all of that with us.
Oh, thank you. I love being here.
And thanks to our listeners for tuning into the show. You can find us on Apple Podcasts and iTunes, and you can rate and subscribe. You can also find us on Instagram and YouTube at Meaningful Marketplace Podcast, and you can call or text Sarah and I with questions at 503-395-8858. We couldn't do this without our fantastic team. Today's producer, Dirk Marshall, and our audio engineer, Haley. And we will be back next week with more stories of Portland makers. Thanks for joining, everybody. Bye.
Bye for now.
If you love the stories we bring you each week, please consider supporting us on Patreon. As an independent media company, your support is absolutely essential. It allows us to continue creating high-quality professional episodes that amplify the voices of women, small business owners, writers, artists, and creatives, and keep their stories free from commercial pressure. By becoming a Patreon member, you're not just supporting us, you're investing in the future of independent media. Please visit patreon.com/The Joy of Creation Production House to join our community today. Thank you for listening and supporting our podcast dreams.